Let's review the last batch of Adventure Site contest entries in the Coldlight Press Adventure Site contest. This is entries 16 to 19. We've got St Durham's Home for Wayward Youths, the Barrow Shrine of Corruption, the Tower of the Elephant, and the Observatory. And I think three of these are BXE, and one of them is AD&D. This is AD&D, certainly by Trent Smith of Melanath Falls. It's Trent Smith, isn't it? Trent Jones, Trent Wilson. You know the guy. St Durham's Home for Wayward Youth. One thing here is that is an off-brand kind of Lorraine-safe St Cuthbert. Cuthbert, of course, being the patron saint of Durham, his body carried around by the monks from Lindisfarne to protect it from defilement by the Vikings until they were led to the hill at Durham, where they buried him. And this is where I live, so of some interest to me. This is a home for humanoid women and children who you don't murder. You shouldn't murder, that's bad. But, you know, they are a problem because they've been raised in a culture, or maybe there's something inherent about it, who knows, very controversial. And this is a place where they can be reformed. And this is a sort of situation adventure. It's complex. It's basically not a dungeon or adventure site in the strict normal sense. It is a potential adventure site. It's a situation with a particular thing brewing. And basically the thing is that here's just a reform home for humanoids, but some of the humanoids stick to the old ways and have a secret shrine, and they're trying to dig out, and you could have a rising. And you have the idea here, they may learn about the location from the St Durham Church from who's in town, or simply stumbling across it. They may be hired to join in a raid on the place by, for instance, evil humanoids, or by the staff to help defend from a raid. There are also disparate factions. There's also the idea that some good line folk might also raid it, because you can't reform a goblin. And there's so this idea that you could have a siege situation arise, and you need to seven samurai it, or it could be that you just turn up there and come across the situation. And it's all they're all pretty reasonably presented. You've got your stat lines are already clear. You've got spells pre-learned for the clerics. I don't think it has a level. Your top good characters, or neutral, lawful characters, basically, are 6th level cleric, 3rd level cleric, and some 1st level clerics. And Agneath is in contact with the Palm March, the Pomage slavers, and has arrangements to sell the residents to them after they've been sufficiently tamed. She's bad. That is another angle in. That would be an interesting angle in fact. But yeah, she's a 3rd level, and the lead fighter is a 3rd level. And then there's 0 levels, sergeants are 1st levels. And then you have the list of the residents, including reforming evil people, who are, the orcs are more receptive. They prefer the rehabilitative program. The hobgoblins and the goblins are maybe a bit more resistant, particularly perhaps because of Grisabel the goblin shaman, who is cleric 4, nominally, so she's got some useful spells there, including obscure alignment, a special spell from her patron Moloch. And there's a daily routine of what happens, and then there's a key, and the key refers to this map. So outbuildings 1 to 20, that's the main set, and so on and so forth. And yeah, it's and there's lists of what improvised weapons there might be. There's a bit of treasure, not loads, comparatively, like it. Yeah, as in, it's not really kind of here's a 25-room dungeon for 3rd level characters. It's a situation, and I think so. It's an interesting concept. I think it answers a world building question, and this isn't necessarily a good reason for things to exist in the world, but it does answer that world building question. What do you do? Does society accept or attempt to do anything with the potential relative innocence? And it answers partly a question of are humanoids, etc., innately evil? And an answer here being presumably not. and I don't think I don't think it's necessary. I don't find Tolkien despicable because orcs are inherently evil. I think there are different things going on in different books and different sources, but I think it's an interesting approach and a valid one, and I think can add to a setting. The particular setup is obviously slightly campy. Maybe the one material criticism, other than whether it's to your taste, because it may not be just creatively to your taste. If you have inherently evil humanoids, then you're not going to want this, are you? Or if it is, you're going to have to change it a bit. And you may be more sympathetic with the evil assistant proprietor, assistant director, than you're really meant to be per written. If there's one criticism, it's that, and there's this space compression thing here, but I wouldn't mind having either something more primed to blow within here. There is the rebels who are digging their way out via a very hidden secret door, 2 foot high, so you don't notice it easily. I there is that, but that's not kind of essentially. I almost want a from point of discovery, day 7 they try to escape, that sort of thing. And say something like Kratis Freehold in Dungeon Magazine, good siege scenario, which I've run, has a timetable for things that will happen, and that's maybe beyond the space scope here, but I think it means this is slightly inert. The actual location is usable as long as you're not expecting it to be a dungeon. The Barrow Shrine of Corruption by Peter McDevitt. BX adventure site for cautious low-level characters. It has a photo which I'm a map, or the picture of which I'm repeatedly warned may not float on YouTube. It's a gag. It's a visual pun. But basically, yeah, there are 2 layers here within one. There are some gnolls on one side, and there's some black widows, kind of in a shaft. It's an eerie, dismal forest. A huge man rises from the earth, etc., etc. Dead Raven, very atmospheric. Barrow Vault, which has some amber orbs. That's nice. But there's gnolls who will attack you. There's a minor confusion. For me was this is 10 gnolls. I assume what's worth that relates to the pair of gnolls who are lookout, and the 8 gnolls here, and there are no other gnolls. I take it that's who it is. Yeah, there's a bit of treasure knocking around. There's 6 clay tablets worth 200 each, for instance. There's 2,000 gold in an iron chest with poison needle. That is death in 46 hours. That's a pretty gentle thing, albeit low-level characters. If you do get taken by that, you're not going to have anything. I need to remind myself if BX, OSE, whatever, have slow poison, neutralize poison under cleric spells, or whatever. But certainly the point is that you have to get back to town. If that's almost certainly going to be the case, you need to get back to town and get someone to help with an antidote, or perhaps you've bought antidotes, I guess, is an option. You do have a couple of hooks, I should say. It's the hex they've just entered, or you've been told to go and get ritual objects, and it's moderate. The treasure is moderate. It's got some description. It's got a bit of flavour. That's fairly as it is. It's okay. The null behaviour is well described, even if there's that slight confusion over OOB. And then there's spiders as well, and yeah, you can see there are some issues. There's some trap stuff, and then there's a bandit you can rescue, and he presumably is going to help them, but may not, may betray them, but he will lead them to his fellow robbers. And so yeah, there's a bunch of little situations within this, including a timer on this eye. If you go, leave and come back, the male Black Widow here and Korgos, the surviving bandit, will be gone. They'll have been eaten. And so yeah, having little timers like that can be quite fun. And if your players know that sites change and move, if that's something that they have learned as players in the campaign, they will weigh their risks on that. Sometimes they'll push harder, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they say, we just can't afford this. Who cares if it changes? So yeah, this is a very nice, very usable site. This is actually, I think, in most campaigns, droppable into the landscape in a way that some other things require a bit more setup. We've seen a couple, or they require a landscape. I know this is a forest, so technically, I mean, it says it's a forest, and that suits it best. But say compared to the two very good tombs, Black Razor and Jeff's tombs, require potentially a slightly different setup, or you need to have established that there might be these kind. You need to kind of change maybe some of the aesthetic. Here, this is maybe more droppable into more campaigns, but that's a piece of string question. And I think the fact that in 11 rooms or whatever it is, maybe not even that, 9 rooms. Within 9 rooms, there are a couple of different situations. There's a guy you can free, there's some Black Widows you can fight, there's a changing situation there, there's a tribe of gnolls with an order of battle, with plans, tactics, and so on and so forth. There's a couple of traps, albeit the traps aren't particularly exciting. So yeah, this is a strong, small location. And I think we discussed this a bit on the CAG Discord server, but there's a question about what this contest almost is. A 2-page dungeon plus maps. It's 2 pages plus any cover and any map. And this actually is 2 pages. The map is, again, not compiled in. It's a separate JPEG. But yeah, here, this is what many people thought of, I think, is like it's a very small location. It's a session, maybe 2 sessions if you're running short sessions. Some of us do sometimes. But what we've seen with some of the entries, I think Lipley's Tavern by Grutzi is one example. And there are a couple of others. I'm thinking, Grim Gash's Orcs, is that the name? You have a couple which are really small dungeons, proper full-blown dungeons rather than layers adventure sites. And this is very much the adventure site kind of thing we're looking at for size. I don't mind. I'm not kind of downgrading the other ones based on that, but I think you can see this is that kind of thing. St. Durham's is a different kind of adventure site and fits this nicely rather than being like, the 2-page dungeon contest. This doesn't need to be an active dungeon with enemy factions. This is just a situation you might come into. The Tower of the Elephants, 6 to 8, solid mid-level, J. Blasso Giseka, designed for OSE. And this is basically, just to sum this up, this is the Conan story Tower of the Elephant, but inverted. The star elephant is evil, to be fair, so the guy, Yara, or whatever his name is, I've actually read this and discussed this on the channel. You can go and find it under Reading Room. But yes, he has inverted this, that essentially you're not rescuing a star alien. And the spider is the polymorph prince of the city who you need to rescue, or you might be asked to rescue. There's a few hooks, including that one. There's a few kind of traps and rooms. It's closely based on the story. There's guards, there's lions in the garden, then upstairs there's a couple of traps, and there's this evil monster. And yes, it's it's a pastiche, and a fun pastiche as far as it goes. It's not quite my jam aesthetically, partly because I really like the original story, and I really like the Star Alien being a good guy. I think it's actually a fascinating Howard-esque, whatever, Howardian response and engagement with the shared universe with, Cthulhu, and actually indeed they shared stuff with Clark Ashton Smith, didn't they? As they canonized his worlds into their combined universe. But I think Tower of the Elephant does a very interesting thing, and this in that sense has less of that secret source. I think the polymorph prince is fun, though I think the fact you're so likely to kill him because he's so excited he runs towards you with his mandibles clacking because he's trying to talk to you. I think there's a bit of a, there's some gimmick elements here. It's solid, and you've got good detailed maps, and then you have, a useful summary. The Malfear is the evil thing, which is not untough. 9-star HD, poison breath, and pincers, and then can pour tentacles onto them. So quite dangerous, quite tough. So certainly all power to on that side. And here is a bit of good discipline. which not that I say that actually in the stuff I put up on my blog. I do this. This is exactly the thing I do. I didn't do in do in Stolen City in my NAP entry, but treasure total 453,000 gold, and that is going to be divided, let's say, 6 times, six level characters. So they're not getting 100,000 each. In fact, you're assuming they're going to get half of that, so 230,000, something like 240,000. Say, they get 40,000 XP each, which is very generous if you can get it. It's somewhat. It is obviously going to be somewhat concentrated. The upper chamber has that 4 silver band chests with gold, and similarly you've got the 7 golden goblets, each 10,000 each. So you've got a lot of that concentrated into a couple of rooms. But there we go. The Observatory finally by Ben Gibson. Our contest founder, the founder of the feast. Like Scrooge, a villain awaiting redemption. Written for old school essentials. And basically, this is that's a rough map of what's going on. Here we go. This is nice ISO external map, and there's the plan view, the flat view of the ground level, upper level, basement level. And this is a kind of weird, kooky one. There is a 2-headed ogre astronomer who's kind of interested in stuff, but is being driven mad by this night sky curse, as are other people in the observatory. And he's trying to make goblins be interested in this stuff, and it's not completely working. There's, the night sky traps, etc. There's some treasure, 2-ton, 2,750 gold piece statue. So less than a gold per pound. I mean, I assume either form of old ton, but I'm assuming that's an American ton, short hundredweight. Stolen cattle you can go and rescue. There's a puzzle which you need to go down below to find out more about. There is a patrol order of battle, set of rules, and comments on the personalities of the goblins, and some rumours, as I say. So yeah, it's the goblins raiding cattle is the problem here that might incite the locals to send you in, and then it's just a slightly weird, dysfunctional environment with a weird ogre guy, and the treasure and the discoveries are to do with, and the puzzle is to do with the using the observatory machinery and or stealing stuff from the observatory machinery, and that's kind of a nice different thing. It'd be interesting, and this is again, we're pushing at the limits of a 2-page contest. This does, I should say, size wise hit that. It's 15 rooms. That's 16 technically, including an empty rooftop. Now, again, we're in that right kind of size, but Terror of the Elephant, I would say, accomplishes everything it needs to within its pages. I think this, less so than Frostfire's Vile Durance, and with less obnoxious font than font size than Lipley's Tavern, but we are pressing against the limits. Similar to St. Durham's, perhaps pressing against the limits. In the case of St. Durham's, the thing is, I kind of want more dynamism. I can come up with that. I'm not, if you're given a free 2-page adventure that's that's pretty good, you're going to use it, aren't you? But I'm saying in terms of if we're trying to hit that absolute top tier. Here I think there is that I want more inciting stuff. Here there's inciting stuff, but I kind of just want just a touch more movement once we're within. We have the lower we've got these kinds of issues of activating, perhaps by learning which order how you're meant to fill the different areas of the zodiac, so that you can then open the lens or whatever it is. That's fun. But then that's kind of the end. And Earl Egil, the 2-headed ogre, fun character. Earl, practical, curious, and grouchy. Egil, night black starry eyes, speaks riddles, and he's a bit mad. I kind of almost want there to be something where, like, we get some cool stuff out of him. You can see here that the riches kill the ogre, massive diamond that you have to use the puzzle to extract, and go and find the bulls. Those are the hooks. I kind of want there to be maybe something you can learn from the ogre. I kind of want there to be a bit more there. I want there to be more coming out of this. So not so much that it's lacking the inciting incident, but I want the falling action, let's say, to be bigger. And you've got some fun stuff, rickety repairs. That was a thing where you're like, I could interpret it, but it'd be nice if it said, rickety repairs, they fall through stairs. I mean, just idiot-proof, this stuff. Midden rot, you got a sickness, which... is that recoverable, Con, or not? But that's cool. That's a nice disease trap, or disgusting but nice. Night Sky trap is, they go a bit mad. There's not actually any very serious future threat, nothing mechanical. The actual trap is fun, but again, maybe mechanise that more. And the extra bestiaries, there's a night skied sea lion, for instance. There's some small scorpions, I think those are. 1 hit point ones. And Erla Gale, who saves versus spells twice. And yeah, not insanely tough, obviously, here, this is dual started for OSE, isn't it? So hence the +4. But yeah, Thaco 15. AC 5. I know Ogre's only, as it says, 4+1. But this is, I think it's fair to say, especially because you'll only be fighting him, and you can't sleep him entirely, and his attacks, he's only attacking once anyway. But I think you're still talking about a low-level party challenge, and, that's about right, I think. So I think, in terms of the sub-brief, let's say the meta-brief, I mean, in terms of what everyone has gone for, is just write 2 pages of text and some maps and put it in. And there, I've enjoyed all the entries, but there are many different kind of successes. As to the micro adventure site, the layer, a couple of we've seen a couple of the ones that really hit that very well. So the observatory and the Barrow Shrine of Corruption are both droppable into many landscapes. It depends here if you're happy with an intelligent, potentially useful 2-headed ogre who's a scholar. That might be the edge of your cheese, for instance. But then again, so might St. Giram's Home for Wayward Youth, which I think is also droppable in if you are happy with that aesthetic. And I think there are very few. There's only 1 or 2 where I think it requires more setup, either more aesthetic change, or it requires the world to be able to accept it. But I think very strong set of contenders, and I've enjoyed reviewing them. Yes. Anyway, I think we'll be voting on these soon, and you'll probably hear about the winners relatively soon. Keep an eye out on Coldlight Press for more. Till next time.